Today, we're going to open the vault and go inside the headlines, interviews, and music from April 1968 in this new series, One Day in Music History.
I told you about strawberry fields. You know the place where nothing is real.
One spring day on April 6, 1968, Disc and Music Echo report on the Beatles and Donovan's months-long trip in India, with Paul taking part in a Hindu color-throwing festival, smearing his and other guests' faces with colored powder. George, Paul, and Donovan check a man's pulse, which is completely stopped during a meditation session. An article discusses the Beatles turning vegetarian as part of their new interest in meditation. Others have jumped on this trend as well, as they stated, "Today, to be a vegetarian is considered to be pretty sane and a cool thing," which was not something that could have been said just a few years earlier. Andy Bown of The Herd says, "Eating on the road is the most difficult problem. I have to admit that I just live on baked beans on toast." While in India, without distractions and immersed in meditation, the Beatles write some of their most beloved songs from the White Album, such as Back in the USSR, a parody of Chuck Berry's Back in the USA and the Beach Boys' California Girls, and the light-hearted Jamaican ska-styled Ob-La-Di, Ob-La-Da, with some tense moments reported about the making. Prudence Farrow recalled McCartney, Lennon, and Harrison playing it to her in an attempt to lure her out of her room in India, where she had become immersed in intense meditation. Recording engineer Geoff Emerick recalls Lennon openly and vocally detested the song, calling it more of Paul's granny music shit, and then back in the studio, McCartney and producer George Martin got testy with one another when Martin offered Paul suggestions for his vocal part. McCartney saying, "Well, you come down here and sing it." According to Emerick, the usually placid Martin shouted in response, "Then bloody sing it again, I give up, I just don't know any better how to help you." Emerick quit the following day, fed up with the unpleasant ongoing tensions while working with the band. One of John's favorite Beatles songs, Dear Prudence, tells of them trying to coax Prudence out of her room. She revealed to them that she had come to India following a bad psychedelic experience. Lennon wrote Dear Prudence using a finger-picking guitar technique that he learned from Donovan. Donovan wrote the psychedelic Hurdy Gurdy Man in India, which later featured 3 of the 4 future Led Zeppelin members playing during the recording session, including Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and John Bonham. In his autobiography, Donovan suggests that this session may have inspired the creation of Led Zeppelin. Be sure to check out the story of Led Zeppelin in this earlier video, which I'll link in the description.
Is she breathing? Yes, very low. What you doing, Jennifer?
Then Donovan's song Jennifer Juniper was written about Jenny Boyd, sister of Patty Harrison, who were both on the trip to India. While Donovan had his eye on Jenny Boyd at the time, she went on to marry her boyfriend Mick Fleetwood. George and Patty Harrison both celebrated their birthdays in India with a cake presented to them by Maharishi. Earlier that year, George turned 25 and Patty 23. Sounds like he was really trying to impress them, but did it work? No. In the end, they all bailed after rumors of Maharishi's inappropriate behavior towards female students. However, it was an incredibly creative period for them, and the Beatles' visit to India influenced the West's interest in meditation and yoga, while the sitar became commonly incorporated into psychedelic music, which really speaks to their lasting influence. In other news, are the Hollies being unfair to British fans? Disappointed fans are saying, "We put them where they are and now they keep running off to the States," pointing to the fact that the Hollies haven't played locally in over a year. Once a group has made it in Britain, they'll head for the land of the glittering dollar at the first opportunity, and to hell with their original supporters. Here is how the Hollies' Alan Clark responded. "If all British pop groups decided to work in Britain all the time, then you'd have a pop group at every theater in England every night of the week. There just aren't enough places to play here. We have to make enough money to live. And I'm sure no one wants me to work 6 weeks of the year and spend the other 44 at home or working down a coal mine to get enough money to eat. The Hollies' latest single, Jennifer Eccles, is selling well and climbing the charts. The song was written by members of the band with input from their wives, and the title is a combination of their names: Alan Clark's wife, Jennifer Bosted, and Graham Nash's wife, Rose Eccles. Check out this video on the Hollies, which I will also link in the description. The Beach Boys signed Buffalo Springfield and Strawberry Alarm Clock as their supporting acts for a tour of the southern U.S. set to begin on April 5th, 1968. It was called the $1 Million Tour. However, just one day prior to the tour's kickoff date, the assassination of Martin Luther King took place, leaving the country devastated and on edge. Exactly as we boarded the plane for Nashville, we got news about Dr. King. When we landed in Nashville, the announcement was made that he was dead. As a result of Dr. King's assassination, the opening show of their tour in Nashville was abruptly canceled. The remaining tour was poorly attended due to the tense political climate and fears of riots with curfews in place throughout the South. On April 12th, the Beatles abruptly left India after allegations against the Maharishi came to light.
You didn't like it, or you didn't have the patience, and you decided to go home.
We were there 4 months, or George and I were.
No,
we lost 13 pounds, and we looked a day older.
Did you think this man's on the level?
I don't know what level he's on, but
he's on the
we
level.
had a nice holiday in India and came back rested to play businessman.
The Beach Boys were set to begin another tour in May of colleges that featured none other than Maharishi. The tour was advertised as the most exciting event of the decade. The band hoped that their upcoming tour with the Maharishi would alleviate the financial shortfall of the $1 Million Tour. On a stopover in London, Mike Love, who had just been in India with the Beatles, tells Melody Maker, "We're going to use a lighting system to project Maharishi on screens above the stage so everybody will be able to see him." The tour included a set by the Beach Boys, followed by a lecture by the Maharishi on meditation. The tour was canceled after just 3 dates over what the Beach Boys insisted was the lingering atmosphere of hostility and violence in the wake of King's death. Carl Wilson commented, "A lot of people just would not let their children out. Nobody wants to get hurt." Penny Valentine's review of new discs of the week include the Small Faces' Lazy Sunday from Immediate Records, which she says, "If you haven't already heard this, and I find that hard to believe because it's already had enough plays to guarantee it will be the Small Faces' biggest hit for years," as she goes on to declare it a hit. And she wasn't wrong. The song in fact went on to reach number 2 on the UK charts.
Oh, blimey, hello, Mrs. Jones. How's your bird's lumbago?
Lazy Sunday features Steve Marriott singing large parts of the song in a greatly exaggerated Cockney accent, reportedly due to criticisms by the Hollies, who said that Marriott never sung in his own accent. And rising up the charts for the week of April 6, 1968, are Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay at number 5. Then the Beatles' Lady Madonna is at number 2, which Bill Martin describes as rather disappointing. However, he does like the current number 1 Delilah by Tom Jones, calling it just fantastic and referring to Tom Jones as the best singer Britain has in fact. He also thought Otis put in a great performance on a poor song. What do you think? Did Martin miss the mark on his reviews? Leave a note in the comments.
Haven't seen you in a while.
And now for a trivia question. In the article, Ex-Traffic Man on New Stones disc details Dave Mason playing on the new Rolling Stones single, which was not yet released. In the article, Jimmy Miller says, "The Stones have been working with incredible enthusiasm. It is, if anything, back to the raw solid Stones sound." The album the Stones are working on was Beggar's Banquet. And can you name the song Dave Mason played the flute and bass drum on? A. Sympathy for the Devil.
I was around when Jesus Christ had his
B. Street Fighting Man.
everywhere. I hear the sound of
Or C, no expectations?
Take me to the station.
The answer is Street Fighting Man, which Dave Mason played uncredited on. He played the Shehnai, a double reed woodwind instrument from India, of course. April 1968 was a time of turbulence, creativity, and shifting musical landscapes, from the Beatles' spiritual journey in India to the struggles of touring in a politically charged America. The music world was deeply intertwined with the cultural shifts of the era. As psychedelic music grew in popularity and legendary albums took shape, the events left a lasting mark on music history. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look back at One Day in Music, April 1968. Check out these videos linked here and in the description for more in-depth stories behind the music in this video. Be sure to like and leave a comment. See you next time.
The kingdom of heaven is within you. You know, that's all it means. To have a peep inside.